This is wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Kuamausia Para, and today's presentation or workshop experience or purpose experience will be on healing through the performing arts. Thank you all so much for taking the time to spend your 12 noon lunchtime with us here. And let's get into it. Uh-oh, there's still a few people coming. Nargis, will you still be—
I'll take care of the waiting room. I'm
Okay,
here the whole
cool.
time. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So you do
All
your
right.
thing, Kulwa.
Thank you. So I'm going to—
We see your screen.
Okay, wonderful. And everyone can hear me fine?
We hear you. Great.
Wonderful. Okay, so today we're going to be doing healing through the performance arts. And before we get started, I do want us to just give homage to the indigenous custodians of this land, the Ohlone Nation. We are on Ohlone land, unceded Ohlone land, and I want to also acknowledge our ancestors on whose shoulders we all stand. And I have a plant here, and I'm going to pour a little water into the plant as a libation. Water is a sacred element that we often take for granted, and so is earth, which gives us food. Ashe. Thank you. So setting intentions, the purpose of this workshop is really to just heal and to explore alternative modalities to healing, especially when dealing with suicidal ideation, right? The whole purpose of this series is reimagining different ways of suicide prevention, which is a huge crisis in our country, specifically also in our county and in our world. So what is art and what is healing, right? So we're going to just get right into it. I'm a big etymology person. I'm the daughter of a school teacher. So art comes from the Latin artem, which basically means a skill as a result of learning or practice. And the Greek equivalent would be techna or technique, what we say in English, meaning a skill, a craft. Art, in simplest terms, is the expression or application of human creativity, skill, or imagination. Creative skill and imagination. And when we look at the word health or healing, it comes from the Germanic root halatho, meaning whole, uninjured, or a good omen, right? And words truly have power. I cannot emphasize that enough. We must speak life into everything we do. So healing is to become whole or to overcome an undesirable condition. And a lot of people dealing with suicidal ideation do not feel whole, right? When we are feeling suicidal, we are suffering from a fragmented consciousness. We're feeling broken and we want to come back together. Why am I doing this? Well, for me, it's all about the dispossession and the reclamation of the imagination. A lot of us have been dispossessed from our imagination. We've been programmed and are groomed by our household circumstances, or maybe through electronics, or maybe just not being born and raised into a nutrient-rich environment, right? I used to work for many years in early childhood mental health and education, and I would do home visits. And there are many households today that do not have a single children's book in the house for their children. And we have to think about, how does this impact a child's imagination, right? So I'm a strong believer that whoever is in control of their imagination is also in control of their destiny. And we are experiencing right now a huge hijacking of the American imagination, and it is a crisis. I have one of my leaders in, the movement work, Skulu here, and he is the associate director at the UC Berkeley Alvin Ailey camp. And I've had the privilege of working with him over the years, and he can attest that we see an increase in suicidality or suicidal ideation with young people, depending on certain trends that are on Netflix or TikTok, right? So there is a hijacking of our imagination as a whole. Imagination is important, especially in the realm of art. Imagination is the blueprint for our own reality. And I wanted to do this presentation specifically because I recently performed a one-woman show that was about how I turned some of my traumatic moments into triumphant moments, right? And they're the type of, any of you who are clinicians here know that there's a type of belittling of the imaginary process or of the creative process in the clinical realm, right? But where would we be in the clinical sciences and in the therapeutic sciences if it were not for imagination and the purpose that imagination plays? What about healing? There's so many empirical based studies that show imagination really does impact healing. Many of us, especially those of us who are dealing with suicidality, we are living with the blueprints, the reality of blueprints that were imposed upon us. That agency to imagine and create our own blueprint was in a sense hijacked from us because of maybe exposure to abundance of trauma or whatnot. So art is a vehicle for us to reclaim our imagination, to reconstruct the blueprints of our own lives. So there are various types of performing arts. There's dance, there's music, there's theater, there's spoken word and storytelling. We often see griots in African culture. They're called griots. These are ancient storytellers, right? Singing. We also have the circus arts, wrestling, comedy, and improv. So I wanted to focus a little bit on wrestling because I knew most people would not expect that. And when we get later into the presentation and we're going to explore the chakras, which are from the Vedic sciences, they're basically energy harnesses that travel along our spine. There are certain art forms which can balance our chakras or these energy centers within our bodies. Here, I wanted to highlight women in wrestling. We have some young women wrestlers in Iran. And then we also have the Cholitas Luchadoras in Bolivia. These are indigenous women of Bolivia who have created a space and a culture of women wrestlers. And they wrestle in these beautiful skirts. Them creating this space of wrestling as a platform for women has not only allowed them to express themselves artistically, emotionally, physically, but it has also created political movement. And now we see many luchadoras having even contributed to the rewriting of the Constitution in Bolivia to be more equitable and justice and have more justice for women. So now I want us to explore comedy. And excuse me if I'm going fast, but it's only because I need us to have time to do our creative process and perform it. So comedy is really deep because it's an ancient art form, and it comes from the Greek word komos, which means revel, and adios, which means finger. So it's really like a singer of revelry. So traditionally, back in the day, in the ancient times, comedies were told in song, and the comedian would parade through the community and tell these stories of satire. And comedy has a huge purpose because traditionally comedy is anything, whether it's tragic or dramatic, as long as it has a happy ending. But it centers around what's called the agon, which is Greek for a tragedy or a conflict. And agon is where we get the word agony from, right? And we know that so many comedians in real life, Robin Williams, Will Smith has also been open about having deep depression. A lot of comedians deal with very deep emotions of agony and tragedy. As a matter of fact, a lot of comedians were born into tragedy, and comedy was an artistic therapeutic skill that they used to cope. Also, the purpose of comedy has some social purpose, challenging the elite, the status quo. There are some who believe even the jester in old courtesan societies were meant, in Victorian age, were meant to keep the king in check, right? To keep him in tune with how the people felt about his ruling. Also to provoke thought and critical discourse. And simply to laugh, right? It's a huge distressor. Sometimes we just need to take a break. Oftentimes, as a crisis counselor, when I'm building or I'm collaborating with a client who's in distress and contemplating suicide, we will look at watching a comedy as an option to de-stress and to take their mind off of the suicidal thoughts. I wanted to read these quotes. There is a thin line that separates laughter and pain, comedy and tragedy, humor and hurt, by Irma Bombeck. Had I no sense of humor, I would have long ago died of suicide, Mahatma Gandhi. The sublime and the ridiculous are often so nearly related that it is difficult to class them separately. One step above the sublime makes the ridiculous, and one step above the ridiculous makes the sublime again. Thomas Paine. This particular quote really resonates with me because if you've ever worked with people who are dealing with suicidality, a lot of times it can be centered around this moment when things were sublime, things were going great, right? Maybe the love of a mother or the love of a partner. And then something inexplicable happens where this loved one just starts treating them in a perverse and abusive way. And the person with the suicidality cannot reconcile. How did something so loving at one point all of a sudden become so perversely painful, right? And I think this is what a lot of old time scholars understood, is that there's always that thin line that can separate something that is very amazing and something that is suddenly becomes tragic. I want us to take a moment and speak about the HEYOKA. The HEYOKA are sacred clowns and agents of change in the Dakota and Lakota nations of the Northern Plains people, indigenous people. And the HEYOKA are still around today, and they play a very important role in Native indigenous culture, right? Oftentimes HEYOKA will be seen riding a horse backwards, or if it's cold outside, they're walking around saying, oh my God, it's so hot, I'm burning up. So we can see a similar character in some Ifa culture with the Orisha or deity called Eshu. They're kind of like jesters where they play on these contradictions to try to promote thoughts of lesson learning and growth and healing. The HEYOKA were extremely important, will continue to be important, but were especially extremely important during the fight for this nation against the US government. And this particular HEYOKA in this slide is One Bull, who was actually the nephew and adopted son of Chief Sitting Bull. And going back to dance, which is also a sacred and important art form, Sitting Bull was actually murdered by the US government in the 1890s because there was this huge dance craze going around, but it was like a medicinal dance. It was a dance of protection. Does anyone know which dance I'm referring to? Does anybody want to call it out? Well, it was the ghost dance, right? So the ghost dance was spreading to a lot of different Native American nations and tribes who were fighting to stay independent. And the US government knew that Chief Sitting Bull was a very influential personality and leader and thought leader in the Native resistance movement. And there was talk that he was going to join the ghost dance movement, which at this point had been made illegal, but so many Native nations were still doing the ghost dance, and they believed it gave them power to continue the fight against American imperialism. So here we see a case of dance being seen as a threat to oppression and imperialism. And honestly, dance is a threat to oppression, even internal oppression. When I'm feeling sad, when I am feeling lonely, when I am feeling not my best, I lean into dance to release and to come back to feeling whole. Okay. Now we're going to move into the chakras of the Indian Vedic system, of the Hindu Vedic system. And it is part of Indian Hindu culture, but I also want to say that the chakras are also important in Tibetan Buddhism. So please understand that when we speak of things, we often speak along colonial lines, but the Vedic science is even beyond the sub-Indian continent. So I just wanted us to go through these chakras quickly. What I will say is that chakra is Sanskrit for disc or wheel, and it refers to the energy centers in our body that correspond to nerve bundles, right? So a disservice that Western medicine does or Western science does is it often, how can I say, it kind of pushes other sciences out by not recognizing them as sciences because they also have a spiritual component, right? But just because some sciences have a branch of spirituality does not make them less scientific. And the Vedic sciences are very ancient, and they in many ways helped to catapult Western science to where it is today. And it's believed that when chakras are out of balance, certain emotional centers in our body are also out of balance, and we can become overwhelmed with emotional symptoms. So we have the crown chakra, which is the SAHASRARA. And I love this chakra because it is literally a symbol of a lotus with 1,000 petals. And I think that's amazing. And it symbolizes pure consciousness. Then we have the throat chakra, which is VISHUDDHA, which is the purification center. and it helps with discernment and self-expression. This chakra is blocked by guilt and shame. So a lot of people who have issues with finding their voice or speaking up for themselves, we find that they are held down by a lot of guilt and shame. We have the third eye chakra, which is the AJNA, which governs our intuition, our inner teacher, our gut feelings. We have the heart chakra, which in Sanskrit means unbeaten or unhurt or unstruck, meaning it's unbeaten or unstruck, basically. And it's believed that this chakra balances calmness and serenity, and it also governs sleep, desire, shame, and fear. And then we have the solar plex chakra, which is Manipura, and this governs transformation. And it also governs digestion of food, and not just food, also the digestion of thoughts and emotions, which I think is so fascinating. And then we have the Swadhisthana, which is the sacral chakra. So that's going to be right above our root chakra. And this governs pleasure, relationships, and most of all, it is the establishment of who we are, our sense of self. And then we have the root chakra, which balances smell and excretion. And I know typically we don't talk about things like excretion in Western culture, maybe unless we're taking a class on digestion. However, our nutrition and being constipated and our gut health is very much connected to our mental health. And Western science is actually just now seeing that. So now we're getting into the fun part, rehearsal time. These are the instructions. You will create, and you can choose from either one of these, right? So we have 4 options. We have a wrestling character where you can design your wrestling alter ego. Who would it be? Who would be, and who would it go against? Who would it fight against? Also, what would be your special takedown move on your opponent? Please be as creative as you like. Also, comedy, clown, or jester. So create your own clown or jester or character that will, and that is up to you, your own creative imagination. For the theater, spoken word, or song or poetry piece, you have the choice to create a mini piece of one of these genres. The piece should consist of 7 lines or sentences or phrases. And then the dance piece. Create a dance that consists of just 7 movements. And the mini dance should be dedicated to a particular chakra or energy spot that you would like to strengthen in yourself. And I want to give us time. Let me see. I can paste the slides in the chat so that you all can see, so that you all can review some of the chakras or some of the other slides if you want that to help jog your imagination. So I'm going to stop the share for now, but don't worry, I'm going to post the slides in the chat. And we're going to break for 10 minutes. And then we're going to come back and share. And guess what? I want everyone to share if we have time. Okay? Are there any questions? Are we doing this all? Oh no, we're just doing one because I wanted to I mean, if you have time to do more than one, by all means, please, no problem at all. And I've just posted the Google Docs in the chat. Any other questions before we get started? Okay, so we're gonna come back at 12:37, and then we will share our works with one another. We have quite a few people here, so hopefully we can get through everyone. All righty, I'll see you all at 12:37.
Miss Kua,
Yes.
this is Rena. How are you? They're asking for us to get a request access to access the Google Doc permission.
Okay, thank you for telling me that. I will do that again. My bad. You're welcome. Thank you, Rena. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone was able to create their piece because now it is showtime. Who would like to go first? I can also call on people.
I can go first.
Oh, wonderful. Yay. Oh, no. Hold on, Mara baby. I think Noble's just coming in the room. Hi, Noble. We just did a creative writing piece, listening to your chakra meditation music. So this is the artist, Noble. If everyone can say hi.
Hello, everyone.
So Maravevi is about to perform her piece, and showtime, Maravevi.
Okay. Okay, so this is all like imagination, right? Like based on because it's pretty weird. Okay, so my what I chose was the wrestling character. This wrestling character, it's a big buff woman. She is known as Mother Peace. What she does is that she wrestles, like she just appears like a magical character all of a sudden. And she's feared by greedy people, by evil, greedy people, because when she makes her appearance, she wrestles individuals, she shakes them up and she straightens them up, which means that she makes change happen, and they know why she's there. So she will make her appearance at a person's home, usually. And when she will wrestle them, she will not let go of them until they make some changes happen to improve things for just for whatever they have done that has affected others. They will make some changes so that they can kind of redeem themselves and fix things up. She mainly visits and shows up at politicians' homes, CEOs, drug dealers, and just any sort of criminal or crook who's either in a business suit or just in their regular, wearing whatever hoodie or whatever it might be. She does not discriminate. She sees what their actions are, and that's where she appears, and then she makes her magic happen by wrestling, which is very powerful. All right, so that concludes it. Thank you.
Can we give a round of applause? That was amazing, Mara baby. Wow, Netflix needs to reach out to you for their next hit. That is awesome. Who would like to go next? Either someone can volunteer or I can call on you, because that's part of performance, having to just face your anxiety.
I can go next, just to get it done, over with, because it's very vulnerable. I've always had a creative block, and Maravedia is a tough act to follow. But anyways, I wrote a little poem, and here we go. Mind and soul alike, tingling with inspiration and energy from this workshop, revisiting, recalling, dissecting ancient wisdoms, art forms, ways of healing and overcoming our perplexing pain.
That was fire, Amanda. Block where? Creative block where? That gave me goosebumps. I don't know if you can see them, but thank you, Amanda. Who's next? Laquan? Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. How are y'all
Showtime.
doing today?
Well, thank you.
Okay. So I also chose a wrestler. However, I think mine's probably not as cool. So my wrestler fights against the powers of just because you can do it, you do it. And my wrestler like gets people to like rationalize their mind of like what they should do, or not what they should do, but what he fights against people that do things because they can, because a lot of people just do things because they can, but not because they're actually good things to do. So my wrestler gets in the ring and he looks at you and he looks through your soul and he gets you to like understand like why you're doing what you're doing, and are you actually doing what you're doing because like it's something that's productive and positive, or are you actually just doing what you're doing because you can? And like he like just gets all in your brain and in your mental and just like straightens the shit out, because you know sometimes like you can't figure it out and it's just like it's just simple. I'm gonna just look at you and then you're gonna like get like realigned, and then we're gonna like start doing positive productive things and not just things because like we can. Because a lot of people just say stuff because they can't say it, or just like do stuff, even if it's hurtful or like mean. So, you know, my wrestler fights for the truth of like doing things with intention.
So he is the rational intentional wrestler that looks through your soul. Kind of give you that look, like mama used to just give you that look.
Right, like what we doing now? Come on. Act like you done been here before.
Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you, Laquan. Who's next?
I can go, Kula.
Yay.
I was thinking about what you described about the court jester, about how they had a role of like almost holding those in power accountable through humor. So that really spoke to me. And from the examples that you had given, I think I would want to be like the court jester in like policy discussions around making our communities safer, and maybe using humor as a way to help those in power realize that like contributing more and more money towards police violence is not the way we create more safety. I sometimes feel like the people who are having those discussions aren't even listening to themselves. Like it's like, oh, we just need more cops, more guns in our schools, more this. And I wish that I could use humor as a way to help people see the error of that thinking, of the way in which you bring communities together is not through more guns or more force. I want to be a court jester.
I love that. Thank you. We have someone coming. Who is next? What about Michael Lewis? Aww. Amanda, we have a request for you to add your poem to the chat. Michael Lewis, did you want to share? It's showtime. Okay. Andrea. It's not every day that I get to have one of my supervisors perform. Oh, it's Michelle on Andrea's account. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's showtime. We're ready to see you.
Thank you. I love this. I love this time. I was able to think of being a swarm of Smurfs. I know that's a really older reference, but so obviously this is a wrestler, and we're a swarm of Smurfs moving in this collective kind of mind reading way against anything that wants to harm others. And we have like this mind reading communication. So, and no one is more powerful than the other. We're like completely in sync. And we look so tiny and harmless, but we're powerful. We're like a wave.
That's powerful. That makes me think of ants.
Yes. Thank you, Kua. Thank you, everybody else.
Oh, this was amazing. What about, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Keita Paulis? Keita?
Yeah, Keita. I'm sorry, I was doing two things at once, but I'm enjoying witnessing everyone else's. So I'm going to be a listener for today.
Not a problem. Thank you. Kimberly.
All right. I did a poem, but my poem subject could be a wrestler. I don't know. And I have a visual too.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, my poem is called White Tara. She has 7 eyes, all seeing. She sees deeply into our pain, into our suffering. She asks us to reveal ourselves to her. She dispels all of our fears. She asks us to develop our hearts as much as our heads. She says the time has come for the world, for all of us, to share our kindness and all of our love.
Ooh, powerful. Dear God. She whiz. That was amazing. Thank you. Would you mind putting that also in the chat? I want to send out kind of like a synopsis of what was created here so we can all have it as a memento. Let's see, who is our next performer? Daniela?
Sorry, it took me a second to figure out how to unmute myself. Hi, sorry. I guess I'm a little hot mess. I'm here with my baby, so we're getting through it. Yeah, so your voice is like washing over me and him, so soothed him to sleep. So thank you. So I wrote something, giving myself grace so that I have the openness to receive, gratitude growing in my heart, traveling to my crown, soothing, steadying sounds transferring from your mouth, transforming into shape-shifting bursts of thought, making new connections and awaking the dormant, creating newness and brightness. Orange is the color of my healing. Hope to share in these experiences with my children, keeping us rooted so they can find their own creative grounding and connection to self and others, to grow and heal within themselves and share with others to pay it forward. So that's my inspiration. Thank you.
Wow, that was so beautiful, Daniela. I literally felt the orange coming up into my body.
Thank you. I can't get rid of myself. I don't know how to do this.
What about Miss? We have Miss, and then we also have Miss Love. We'll do Miss first and then Miss Love after. Okay, maybe we'll do Miss Love now. Oh, from Miss Can't Make My Mic Work. No worries, it's all good. What about Miss Love? I love that name, by the way. Okay, I know Spulu is driving, so he's not able to share right now. Michael, are you there? Okay, Noble, I know you kind of missed the exercise, but do you wanna, we had the exercise of creating our own type of, we could either create a poem or a song or a wrestling character or a dance piece with just 7 movements. So, I mean, you can just kind of improv it and wing it.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you look absolutely beautiful. Thank you for putting on this beautiful virtual space. So big ups to you, Kua.
Thank you.
And I apologize for coming in late. I just saw it and I was like, I have to join as soon as I saw it. So anyway, thank you. I will do a quick song of mine. It'll be the first verse of my song, Why. Okay, give me a beat. Darling, don't forget your why. While you're working hard every day and every night. All those memories, the ones that make you smile, don't let them pass you by. Don't you forget you are.
Wow.
There we go. That's what I got.
Why? That's so important. It's so deep because that is really the gist of what art is, right? Finding our why, finding what drives us. Yes. Did anyone not go? Did we skip anyone? Were we able to get to everyone whose mic is working? Okay, are there any questions? Are there any questions that anyone has? I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
I do have a question. When is the next event? Because I cannot wait to attend.
Yeah, so Crisis Support Services of Alameda County has put on this series, and it's all a series dedicated to alternative healing modalities or practices to preventing suicide. And I think we have a few more left in the series, right, Nargis?
Definitely. We still have them weekly through mid-May at least. And I just put a link in the chat of the page where you can see past recordings of the sessions we've already held, as well as sign up for our upcoming sessions.
Yes, yes. And are there any questions? Because if there aren't, I wanted to leave us with just some songs of the ghost dance of our Native American brothers and sisters who use the ghost dance as resistance. I know Mara Baby was saying she hadn't heard of it, and I love that. And I just want to say, you know, a lot of times we put labels on ourselves. Like I heard Amanda say, you know, she's dealt with the creative block for a long time. And I just want to say that everyone here, their performance was so amazing. Your piece was amazing. And I think it's not so much us having blocks, but it's just about us creating the space where we can feel vulnerable enough to get past those blocks. So I see that CSS is making an intentional effort to try to create courageous spaces like that, where we can feel more vulnerable to tap into creativity. Because everyone can't do talk therapy, right? It's not a one size fits all. So if there's no other questions, I will. Wonderful, thank you. I'm gonna share this Ghost Dance song, and then you all have a blessed day. Let me just pull it up. Give me 1 minute.
Kuwa,
yes.
There's Spulu, I think, wrote something on the chat. They wrote their little piece, and it's pretty.
Oh, nice. He did? Can
yes.
you read it for him, please?
Yes. My wrestler's name is Master VOS for Voice of Silence. Has spiritual power to read through those who can't share or speak because of trauma. They create a path of healing, courage, and bravery. No physical contact with anyone, but just like Dorothy from Oz, one click of the heel or soles, one click of the heel or sole of the feet, Master Voss is there all ears, like a fairy godmother.
That is so beautiful. Ulu, I don't know how you did that while driving. You better go ahead. Be safe. It has been an honor to be your master of ceremonies for today. I'm going to leave you all with some original footage of Native American ghost dance. May we all carry the power of art and the resilience that it gives us within us today. And Nargis, if you could not stop the recording, or don't close the session until I get all the chats, because I want to document everyone's pieces and we'll send it back to them. Okay. All right, y'all, hold on.